He was so profound in his wisdom that you cannot be a doctor today unless you do what's called the oath to Imhotep. The oath to Imhotep. All of this can be proven. So Imhotep, who was he? He was a scientist. He was a priest. He was a doctor. He was an engineer. He was a philosopher. He was a poet. He was a farmer. He was an astronomer. He was a chemist. He was a mason. A mason means one who builds. He was an architect. In fact, his work was so legendary, my family, that he built the world's first recorded pyramid. I've been there myself several times. Please look it up, because I could be lying to you. The name of the pyramid is called the Step Pyramid. The Step Pyramid because it goes up in 6 steps. It's in the area of Kemet, Egypt, called Saqqara. And believe it or not, brothers and sisters, we were such great builders. This is how it looks today. This is how it may have looked 5,000 years ago. We were such a rich cultural civilization that we actually covered this building. And remember, this was not small. This pyramid is over 260 feet high. It was, according to many scholars, covered in gold. Can you imagine how powerful a kingdom you must be to cover your buildings in gold? This is African civilizations prior to slavery. And we at that time was also called Nubians. Nubians. The word Nubians come from a land called Nubia, which is southern Kemet, southern Egypt. The word Nubia in that language means people of gold. We had gold in abundance.
Ten miles south of the Great Pyramids of Giza lies the necropolis of Saqqara. Imhotep rose to become Pharaoh Djoser's trusted advisor and eventually his chief architect. He invented the stepped pyramid using stone blocks instead of 500,000 tons of limestone, constructed in mastaba-style layers. The stepped pyramid stands over 200 feet high, then the tallest building in the world. Its impact on the ancient Egyptian landscape was huge. 10 more kings replicated Imhotep's design, determined to attain the same status as the pharaoh of the first pyramid. Their tombs became some of the most iconic sacred buildings on the planet, each growing the necropolis until it stretched 5 miles across the desert to create a sprawling city of the dead. Today, Imhotep's masterpiece still dominates the Egyptian desert. But while his structures survive, no trace of the man himself has ever been found.
Brothers and sisters, we can spend hours just talking about Imhotep. And is it Chidera? Can you mute yourself, please, there? Chidera, your microphone is on. We were master builders in Africa. We talk about palaces. One of the first Greeks that came into Kemet, Africa, was the Greek historian called Herodotus. He wrote about the pyramids, but he also wrote about this pharaoh. Look at his African features. There's a book called Herodotus, The Histories. I'm giving you my sources there. It's Histories, Book 2. So I could be lying to you. I'm giving you names, dates, books to go and look at. He was the Greek historian. They call him the father of history. He went to this African kingdom's house. Now, brothers and sisters, everyone teaches us about European civilization. They talk about Buckingham Palace in London. Buckingham Palace has 775 rooms. When Herodotus went to this African palace, I wanted to show you how powerful Africans were before slavery. This man's house, his name is Amenhotep III. Please look it up. I could be lying to you. Amenhotep III. He lived in the 11th/12th dynasty of Kemet. His palace, didn't have 775 rooms. It didn't have 1,000 rooms. It didn't have 1,500 rooms. It didn't have 2,000 rooms. It didn't have 2,500 rooms. It had, according to Herodotus, over 3,000 rooms. This is African buildings. This is African kings and queens. This is how we lived. 3,000 buildings, 12 massive courtyards, gardens, with a pyramid. As you see there, a pyramid coming out. In fact, what I read, it was a pyramid coming out of a lake. Over 200-foot pyramid. Herodotus says that this one palace of this African king, Amenhotep III, was greater than the whole of the Greek civilization in its entirety. One African house. And here you see a close-up of the pharaoh that I'm talking about, Amenhotep III. You can see clearly, very clearly, his strong African features. And that's why they literally went around Kemet, smashing the noses and smashing the lips, because they could not believe that Africans were building on this level. But what they don't talk about, can anyone tell me what country this is? Can anyone tell me what country this is? I'll give you 5 seconds. You could type it in the chat room. Sudan. Thank you so much. Who is that? Thank you so much. It's Sudan. Everyone knows about the pyramids of Egypt or Kemet, but no one really talks about the pyramids of Sudan. Sudan is the homeland that gave birth to Egypt, Kemet. They came from inner Africa. Egypt has 96 pyramids, approximately 96 pyramids. Can anyone tell me how many pyramids are in Sudan? I'll give you 5 seconds. Time is against us, and I want to leave Egypt because there's so much beautiful African history that no one is teaching us in schools and in colleges and in universities. Someone said 3,000. No, there's approximately just over 200 pyramids in Egypt, in Sudan, sorry, over 200. And many of them are based in the ancient capital of Meroe. So please, brothers and sisters, I'm doing this because I'm trying to show you that there is so much. Every single element I'm talking about, we can spend at least 2 to 3 hours just talking about the pyramids of Meroe or Sudan. I talk about the ancient civilization of Sudan.
Egypt has always traditionally been given prominence as the height of ancient culture. Nubia is now coming into its own and is being understood to be of equal importance. It is different from ancient Egypt, but it is equally important and not just an adjunct to this Egyptian culture. What archaeologists do when they pull material from the ground or when they translate texts, they bring their own cultural baggage to that interpretation and the baggage of the times that they live in. And so it's imperative that we go back and continually reassess the things that we take as facts. Many of the early archaeologists came to the study of ancient Egypt and ancient Nubia from the perspective of Semitic languages or the study of the Hebrew Bible, and it was very important to them to bring Egypt specifically into the sphere of biblical studies. And so they had to carve Egypt away from Africa to bring it into that sphere. And the way that they did that was they used race. So these early archaeologists effectively made ancient Egypt white in the sense that they made it part of a dominant Western culture, and ancient Nubia was separated from that. It was black. And this was how they took Egypt out of Africa and put it into this Semitic sphere, this biblical sphere. And it's only...
So you can see there, brothers and sisters, that due to racist scholars, they separated Kemet. So let's leave Egypt now. And the reason why I focused on Egypt initially is because the evidence of our civilization is so abundant, so factual. It's literally, we wrote our history in stone in Egypt. Proper name is Kemet. And so that's the reason why a lot of historians use Egypt, because they've done a very good job destroying African culture outside of Kemet, Egypt. And so we have to reclaim that which belongs to us. And I think in Ghana we say Sankofa, to go back and reclaim. So we move now to the ancient civilization of Mali, the ancient Mali kingdom. When we look at Mali today, we are not looking at ancient Mali. Mali, in its original context, was larger than the whole area of what we call Western Europe. So if we were to look France, Poland, Germany, all those countries together, Italy, Spain, the whole kingdom of Mali was in a bigger expanse than all of that put together. And as you see there, the ancient kingdom of Mali was ginormous. We have to touch, when we talk about Mali, we have to talk or touch on the founder of the Mali kingdom, Sundiata Keita. Sundiata Keita. Please, brothers and sisters, these are great warriors, great kings that should not be written out of history. Sundiata Keita was the founder of the Mali Empire, and he was also known as the Lion King. The Lion King. And this, believe it or not, was where the story of the Disney movie, The Lion King, was really based on. He was the original Lion King. He was the Lion King of reality, not in a cartoon. Please look up this brother. And Sundiata Keita gave birth to one of the greatest empires, which is known as the Mali Empire. And when historians study this particular empire, also known as the Mandingo Empire, it was wealthy beyond imagination. Wealthy beyond imagination. According to all historians, according to all financial experts, one of his descendants, the incredible emperor Mansa Musa, was recorded as being the most wealthiest man who's ever lived, including Elon Musk. This was an African king. This was prior to slavery. How dare they say that Africa had no history, when they know in their own history books we had kingdoms that were outdoing anything that we see today. So one of the greatest kings was Mansa Musa. He was a Muslim king, and he came to prominence when he went to perform Hajj, a 14th century king. And on that journey, well, let me not say anything. The evidence is there for itself.
The legend of Timbuktu begins in the year 1324, when a huge caravan appears unannounced in the deserts outside Cairo. Emperor Mansa Musa is making his holy pilgrimage to Mecca, and he's doing it in style. His caravan includes 60,000 people and about 13 tons of gold. The Islamic world was amazed by this unknown black king who seemed rich beyond belief. Arab historians recorded that he spent so lavishly in Cairo, the Egyptian gold market crashed for years. Eventually, the stories reached Europe, spawning an obsession with Mansa Musa and his shadowy city of gold. A Spanish map from 1375 even shows the emperor sitting on his throne holding a nugget of gold.
There is so much more we could write and teach about this king, but this, again, I'm just emphasizing, if we as Africans don't know anything prior to slavery, then we have no idea what it really means to be African. We gave this world civilization. This is an African king that controlled the gold market on planet Earth. Many of us have seen the movie Wakanda yeah, Wakanda Forever, the Black Panther, not understanding that the whole architecture behind Wakanda was based on the Mali Empire. The capital of the Mali Empire was Timbuktu. Timbuktu. Timbuktu was actually named after an African woman. Yeah, we had a matriarchal society. The female was the power behind that society. And so you see there that under Timbuktu, we had greatness. And not only the greatness in wealth, because Mali was rich, not just in gold, but in copper, in silver, in crops, and many other things. Also, as Africans, and this is something we must understand, brothers and sisters, as Africans, we were the most advanced, scholarly, educational people on planet Earth. We had cities, what were known as university cities, based in the Kingdom of Mali. And Timbuktu was actually known as the City of Universities.
There were 25,000 students attending the University of Timbuktu. The city had 100,000 residents, so approximately 1/4 of the population were students.
So as I said, much more can be said about this. Because of time, I'm just touching on various aspects, hopefully inspiring for you to look at. We had a whole city of over 125,000 students studying together. This gave birth to Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard. All of those great universities we see today around the earth were based on African universities. We also had the people known as the Dogon people. Dogon people. These people showed that the African wisdom was literally, and I use the word literally, out of this world. Why the Dogon? They were the world's experts as astronomers, spiritualists, political, and powerful human beings. They had knowledge of stars in the galaxy, in the cosmos, that Europeans and Arabs never knew existed until 1970, when they invented what they called super telescopes. Africans had this wisdom, and they don't know how we were matching stars such as the Sirius A star, the Sirius B star, and the Sirius C star. These are stars that you cannot see with the naked eye.
Modern science has corroborated that Sirius B does indeed exist. Problem is, the Dogon knew about this before modern science corroborated it. I mean, that's spooky.
So you see there in the History Channel, again, just touching on these things for you, brothers and sisters. Up to now, they really cannot explain how Africans were mapping out stars and the solar system when the rest of the world were living in caves and hillsides and eating dead people. We as Africans were mapping out stars in the sky. Also, looking at what we call the movie industry, Wakanda, Black Panther. And in Black Panther, you had these powerful sisters known as the Dora Milaje. Many people do not appreciate that this element of the Black Panther movie, these powerful sisters as the top guards, the security, the army of Wakanda, was actually based on real living history. They were known as the Dahomey Amazon warriors. Please look these things up, brothers and sisters. I could be lying to you. So when we looked at Black Panther, the movie Black Panther, these here was some of the women, an army of women that was feared Across Africa, an army of women feared across Africa because of their fierceness.
But anyway, they were feared throughout Africa for 2 centuries. They fiercely protected their king and country. They were actually judged superior by their male soldiers for their bravery and effectiveness.
Yeah, the Dahomey warriors were known as the Black Sparta. Yeah, the Black Sparta. These are women, a kingdom that was secured by women who were feared. Are you really going to tell me there is no African history before slavery? We can stay in that part of West Africa and touch a little on Nigeria and Benin, because before the year 1500s, the lands we now know as Nigeria was rich, absolutely rich in the collection of states, a vibrant patchwork reflecting the ethnic groups that exist today. These early states gave birth to what we call the Yoruba kingdoms, the Edo kingdom, the Benin kingdom, the Hausa kingdom, and the beautiful land of Lupe. When many people ask what is the largest man-made edifice or monument on planet Earth, many people say the Great Wall of China. If you say that, you are absolutely wrong. Even though the Great Wall of China can be seen from space on satellite, the greatest monument, the largest monument built by man is not in China, it's in Africa. And it's known as the Great Wall of Benin.
There lived a great kingdom, a kingdom that was well protected and hidden from the world, a kingdom with a great culture and a unique civilization unlike any other in its time. I'm not talking about Wakanda. This was an actual place somewhere in West Africa, and it had one of the greatest forms of defense of its time. It was definitely not an Apache helicopter. If you spoke of a helicopter at that time, you would have been probably stoned to death. What they had was a great wall. The walls were about 16,000 kilometers long and covered an area of about 6,500 square kilometers. These walls were about 4 times the Great Wall of China and consumed 100 times more materials than the Great Pyramids of Cheops. Assuming a 10-hour workday, it would take 5,000 men 97 days to complete the wall. It's just an estimate. I wasn't there. It was well manned with mighty men of valor and surrounded with hidden ditches, which are still there even till today. These walls ensured many great victories during times of war. The walls signified hope and security to the citizens of this great kingdom. It was a symbol of strength. So, if there is something so great in Africa, how come no one speaks of it? Well, this is because the wall was strong enough to fend off all known threats. But sadly, at the time, not all threats were known. For a while, this kingdom retained its independence even when the British conquered the surrounding kingdoms. On January 12, 1897, a squadron was appointed by the British Admiralty to lead an expedition to capture this kingdom and destroy the city. The field commanders were instructed by their commander-in-chief to burn down all the towns and villages in the kingdom. Homes, religious buildings, and places were deliberately torched. On the 3rd day, the blaze grew out of control and engulfed part of the city. The wall was brought to its knees. The largest earthworks created in the pre-mechanized era was lying in the dust. This is the story of the Great Walls of Benin, Nigeria. The remains of these walls are still visible today. It serves as a tourist attraction center, although some parts are being torn down due to urbanization.
So you see there, brothers and sisters, the great African kingdoms were destroyed. And when you talk about the Benin, you've got to talk about the Benin bondsmen. That the British, when they saw it, could not believe the artwork, the craft work, the metal work. Never ever seen to this level in Europe. And when the British came and colonized Nigeria, the Benin, and all those surrounding areas, one of the first things that they done was steal, take away, thieve the great works of our ancient people, and then turn around and say to us, Africa had no history. We are still trying to get these stolen products back to the lands of where they came from.
Last years of the 19th century, thousands of people came to London to see an intriguing new exhibit. They came to marvel at the art of an alien culture produced by a supposedly savage people. The very existence of these works of art represented a challenge to the dominant ideas of the time, ideas that underpinned an empire. The public were fascinated, but also troubled by what they saw.
They're here in London, in the British Museum.
The Benin bronzes came to Britain as the spoils of an act of plunder. In 1897, British colonial forces attacked Benin City. It was an act of revenge for the ambush of an earlier British expedition. They deposed the king, the Oba, or Vanouamwen, sent him into exile, and burned his palace to the ground. They looted the brass plaques and statues that once decorated the palace walls, took them back to London, and sold them off. Some were put on display in the British Museum. Yet many of the Victorians who puzzled over the existence of the bronzes had forgotten that they were not the first outsiders to see the art of Benin. Centuries earlier, Portuguese explorers had encountered the bronzes in their original home, on the walls of Benin's royal palace. It stood at the heart of a vast city, ringed by one of the largest earthwork walls in the world. These early European travelers came not to conquer, but to trade. Before the prejudices of later centuries, they had no trouble recognizing Benin as a powerful, sophisticated civilization, one that was capable of producing great art. And it's in the art that we find evidence of these first relationships between West Africans and Europeans. Evidence that shows the faces of early Portuguese traders, complete with beards and long European noses. This is art that reveals a very different civilization to the one the Victorians imagined. Not an isolated kingdom, but one shaped by centuries of contact with the wider world.
So you see there, brothers and sisters, especially those who are based in our great, beautiful country of Nigeria, that our civilization was taken and put on show and then turned around against us. I'm also going to quickly just touch on the great kingdom of Zimbabwe, because what stands in Zimbabwe today is something that scholars still cannot work out, they're still puzzled over. The Great Wall of Zimbabwe. And this, I've not got time now because I know my time is very limited, and I'm very thankful for Brother Femi and the great organization putting this on. But please, brothers and sisters, look into this edifice. It astounds. It's under the UNESCO World Heritage Sites. This is one of the great powers. The great Zimbabwe civilization was a center of trade, power, and wealth of the Shona people. They built this as a sign of their power and engineering magnificence. Because when you look at this wall, you will see no cement, no mortar. They literally defied the laws of engineering. This work was so magnificent that the colonial powers at that time, the British, they tried every single thing using their anthropologists, their scientists, their archaeologists to make them give a story, give a version. This could not have been built by Africans. They said that this was built by the first European people, the first white people that came to Africa before there was even Africans in Africa. Can you imagine that, brothers and sisters? They said it was the white queen of Sheba. We now know that Sheba was an African queen of Ethiopia. But they tried to peddle so many different stories. They said that, no, Arabs built it. But it's undeniable evidence that this was an edifice built by Africans prior to what we call slavery. And there you see elements of this. The evidence of Africa being the home of civilization, believe me, brothers and sisters, goes right across the whole of this continent, which is over 12 million square miles. We were the mothers and fathers of civilization. This cannot be refuted by anyone who has done their studies. Quickly, brothers and sisters, my time is coming to an end. Can anyone tell me which African civilization this is? Just type it in the chat room. Please, can anyone guess which African civilization is this? I'll give you 5 seconds. Talk to me, type it down. Anyone on the Zoom? Any guesses? This magnificent set of artwork. Any guesses? Any guesses? Any guesses? Someone said, I don't know this one. Don't worry, have a guess. I'll give you 5 seconds before we finish. 4. Benin Kingdom. Yoruba. These are good guesses. These are good guesses. But can I say this to all of you? We don't appreciate Africa is our home, but the planet, Africa is our throne, but the planet Earth is our home. What do I mean by that? This was our African civilization. Where? In America. This civilization were the first Americans. So when Donald Trump's talking about getting all the immigrants out and sending them back to Africa, but hold on a minute, Donald. If you study American civilization, the first civilizations of America is African, and this can be proven without any shadow of a doubt. Can anyone tell me where this pyramid is? And I'm going to give you a clue. It is not Egyptian. It is not Sudanese. Can anyone tell me what African civilization built this pyramid? 5 seconds. 4. Mexico. Fantastic. These were the Mexican Africans. Remember that. These were Africans. Can we prove it? Yes. The civilization, the African civilization of the of Mexico were called the Olmecs. These are the Olmecs. They left massive African heads all over Mexico. Some of them weighing over 60 tons. You cannot deny that that is African. This, I'm going to say this, someone just said the Mayans. No, this is the Olmecs. The Olmecs, the Mayans speak about the Olmecs. The Mayans say the Olmecs were the gods, the ancient gods of Mexico. This is the Olmec civilization, the Olmecs. Can anyone tell me which African civilization is this? I'm just showing there's so much to study when you're studying Africa. Can anyone tell me very quickly? Anyone tell me what African civilization is this? I'll give you 5 seconds. 4 seconds. Can anyone type anything? 3 seconds. 2 seconds. Any guesses? 1 second. Believe it or not, this African civilization is the African civilization of China. You see, brothers and sisters, when you look very good at Chinese people, look at their faces. You see the flat noses. You see the high cheekbones. You see many of the people of South Africa. When you look at their faces, they're very Chinese in there. They look. Why is that? Because the ancient civilizations of China, the first 2 civilizations of China is called the Qing and the Shang. They were African civilizations, brothers and sisters. Yeah, African civilizations. It was Africans that brought rice to China. It was Africans that brought jade jewelry to China. I mean, brothers and sisters, I haven't got the time to go through all of this. This is so beautiful. Understand what it means to be Africa or African. It doesn't mean that your civilization had to come out of Africa. Africa is our throne, that's our power. But the whole of the earth is our home. You've got Africa all over planet Earth. Can anyone tell me what African civilization is this? Can anyone tell me what Africans? I've given you a clue. Harappa. This is 2300 BC, over 4,000 years ago. Can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me what beautiful African civilization? Someone just said it. It's India. The first civilizations that came out of India were African. In fact, the very word India comes from the word Indus, I-N-D-U-S. The word Indus literally means black. How many African people know that? That's why in India, you have a whole area called Kush. Kush. That is the ancient name for Africa. Kush. You had African civilization called the Dravidians. Many more civilizations. This is one of our Akimbo sisters. Look at this, is African work of India. Of India. Of India. These are African tribes that live in India. They're called the Bonda tribe, the Bonda. These are the original Indian civilization called the Indus people, which means black. This is ancient priests of India. You can see the dreadlocks. You can see the Rasta imagery. This is what it means, brothers and sisters. This is India. So remember, as I finish, I will finish as I started. Brothers and sisters, if you don't know what it means to be African, if you don't know your history prior to slavery, you're like that baby elephant tied to a rope. You will never be free mentally, spiritually, or physically. If you don't know your African history, you're like that flea who's been held down, not knowing it can jump to its freedom. If you don't know your African history prior to slavery, you would be like that lion, the king of the jungle, and you will be scared or fearful of someone with a stick that cannot do you any harm. You will become the clown of planet Earth. You'll be jumping through hoops rather than being your African royal self. And that's what Africans have become today. I'm sorry to say to you, brothers and sisters, we as a people worldwide, we've been turned into clowns. Why? Because we've lost the true knowledge of who we are. So my family, as I close, as I said before, Africa is our throne. The planet Earth is our own. You are not black because you are cursed. You are black because you are first. My name is Brother Andrew Mohammed. I'm the founder of the Hidden Truth platform, brothers and sisters. If you've enjoyed what you heard today, please join me on my platform every Tuesday. Every Tuesday. This week, we've got a fantastic show called Blacknificence, whereby our brother Culture Mark will be doing black history of civilizations and resilience of our ancestors and the rising power of today's generation. Brothers and sisters, my name is Andrew Mohammed. They call me the Investigator. If you do want to get in contact with me, please go to theinvestigator.org.uk, or on Facebook, it's Andrew Mohammed. On Instagram, it's _investigator555. And on X or Twitter, it's Investigator555. Brothers and sisters, thank you so much. Yes, sir.